All right. Do you want me to click for you? I have no slides. How many students go to our primary and secondary schools?
48,000 million.
No. Anyone guess how many students go to our primary and secondary schools? 500,000? 200,000? What was that, Vaughan? No? So about 800,000. How many, you know how many Labradors there are now? How many dogs do you think there are in total? So if there are about 42,000 Labradors, how many dogs in our country? You have to guess a little bit loud. Not enough. Oh, how many? 250,000? A million? Yeah, so there's about 500,000. The thing that I find most fascinating about the mushroom farms is because there's currently 24 mushroom farms, and when I ask people often guess like 1,200, and then when I say, how many have you seen? And they're like, none. And I just think it's really fascinating. We don't connect what we see with reality and with what our guesses are. But also with the mushroom farms, there used to only be 14, and so they've gone up quite a bit in the last couple of years, and it's one of the examples I always use, and I'm wondering if I'm influencing the data, if people are realising there's an opportunity there because there aren't very many mushroom farms and are starting them. So we'll see if we end up with more or fewer Labradors. What's another one? How many... You should be able to figure this one out based on some numbers that you've already heard tonight. How many students start school each year, so year one? How many 5-year-olds? You should be able to figure this out from one of the numbers that were said just before. Yeah, 60,000. So 60,000 people born in our country each year, about 40,000 pass away each year, and about 60,000 start in year one, and about 60,000 leave our education system at the end. What proportion of our population is Māori? About 15, about 16%. What proportion of our 800,000 students are Māori? Close, yeah, about 24%. So showing like a growth in the proportion as the younger generations come through. So kia ora koutou, ko Lillian tōku ingoa. I'm the founder and CEO of Figure.NZ, and I see these numbers as a language that hold lots of our stories, and it's a language that very few people are fluent in, and something that most people don't know how to access or don't even really think about using. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about kind of why I started Figure.NZ and a bit about my own personal history, how I'm doing it. These are going to be very short sections, given the time. And then just a couple of things that I've learned along the way that I have found really important, lessons that I've usually stumbled across and not consciously done, but on retrospect look really awesome and clever. But I'll share some of those. But I started, it's so weird being introduced and hearing all of those things that I've done, because I started my career as a high school PE teacher. I thought that there was a whole portion of the population that ran the country, and that wasn't what I was involved in. I grew up in a really small town called Waipokoro in Central Hawke's Bay, and was totally disengaged from how the country ran, how businesses worked or anything, and never assumed that I would be involved in anything that was working at a nationwide or interacting kind of internationally at all. And so it's really fascinating to reflect back on all the different, not just all the different decisions that have led to what I'm doing now and to where I'll go next, but also to almost more importantly, like the principles of those decisions, because there may have been hundreds of decisions, but what are the things behind that have led to lots of opportunities opening up along the way. And is that time right? Do I really only have 3 minutes left?
That is correct.
I thought it was 10 minutes altogether. 7, okay. No, it's all right. So with Figure.NZ, so that I kind of set it up because I realised that with all of the data that exists, there are tens of thousands of data sets, like the numbers that I talked about before, that are held across hundreds of different websites and in lots of databases, and that most people don't know how to find or use them. And I stumbled across that because when I first opened up like the OECD database or the Stats.NZ site, and I was just like, what is this? I've just literally thousands of our stories sitting there that I had never seen before, and realised that for most people to be able to access them, well, A, you don't really think about it, but B, if you do want to, you have to have enough money to hire someone to engage them, to then go and do do some analysis, surface the answer back up and tell you, and that really restricts our ability to see our country through the lens of numbers. And so when I thought, what is the most important thing I can do with my time, rather than focusing on any one of the issues that I care about, I thought, imagine if I could remove that whole kind of fat from the system, so that instead of everyone that's trying to solve something, whether it's to grow a company or environmental degradation or youth disadvantage, any of those things, that instead of having to spend 80% of the time understanding the situation, they could actually easily find that information and spend more time solving it. So that was one of the reasons it was so important to articulate the purpose behind Figure.NZ for me, right in the middle of my insides. It's because it's really hard. Like, it's been 6 years now from when I first had the idea, and you can look at, if you look at things that we've achieved in the last year and getting a whole bunch of partners and raising a few $1 million, and we're a charity, so that was really hard, and lots of things. And though they seem shiny and sparkly, and it's so much harder than that, and the only thing that makes it worthwhile is having the purpose every single day that never changes. And that's one of the really, really important kind of principles that I've learnt along the way, that when you have your purpose about what you're doing and why, whether it's at an individual level or an organisation level, or ideally both, and making sure they align, then what you can do is disconnect from, you don't define yourself by the functions that you perform, but you become flexible about what you do, as long as it's the right thing to achieve your purpose. So by that I mean, I'm so not used to the clicks. It's awesome, thank you. So by that I mean, the way that we achieve our purpose at the moment was I didn't set out to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars building a tech stack so that we could process lots of data and build a whole product around how to deliver that, but it became apparent that was the step that was needed. When the purpose was to make data something that everyone could use, as soon as I worked to understand the current state of it, was like, actually, this is what we're going to have to do to fulfill that purpose. But what it's meant along the way is we don't define ourselves as, we process data and that's what we're here for. And no one believes me when I say this, but if someone does that part of it, comes along and does that part of it better than we do, then I'll just turn that part of the organisation off, right? Like you go, cool, I will now save hundreds of thousands of dollars a year and focus on getting the message out there. And people don't believe that as a mentality, because we're so used to wrapping ourselves around the function of what we do rather than the purpose. But what it's meant along the way is that in terms of grabbing opportunities, thinking about who we partner with and how we operate, we're always flexible in that part, as long as it's delivering to our purpose. And it's had a massive impact. And one last thing with the time flashing. I'm clearly terrible at speaking just 7 minutes. I would say one of the two things. One thing that I accidentally did at the start when I set up Figure.NZ, because it was a charity and I had no money, I was doing half-time strategy consulting, which was enough income so I didn't have to get any money. What that meant was for 2 years I could really work on Figure.NZ, on developing the idea and the purpose and exploring what people thought of it and what currently existed, without any pressure to shape it through an economic paradigm. And it's really hard, that was accidental. It was because I had no money. And that's just the way it worked. But on reflection, it had a massive impact on the formation of the organisation and how we could be true to the real purpose. And I don't underestimate how influential initial customers are, or initial partners are, because if you partner with someone really early on in an idea, then you're kind of forming to deliver what they need, not able to grow as what you actually want for your organisation or for your purpose. And the other thing that I accidentally stumbled across really was how important building an accountability from day one is. So the very first thing I did with Figure.NZ is I set up a board of 8 people that I massively trusted, that had worked with before. The common element is I knew that they would put the organisation before their ego, which was really, really important. And I did that because I wanted their help in terms of shaping things. The thing that I didn't realise was that I immediately was completely accountable for every single thing I did. And from the very start, when I had nothing, I literally described Figure.NZ as, I want to make a website with charts. But from the very start, every single month I had to document what I was doing and why and kind of report back. And that has made a massive difference to the lens that I make decisions through. And that's been just so awesome and has continued to be awesome. And a recent kind of discovery, so I've just appointed a deputy CEO, and she's almost added the same thing for me, because previously, as the team would grow, I would be adding to other departments like data or development or product or comms. And my load didn't change, and there was no one else that actually knew what I was doing because I was working across so many areas. And to bring someone in that's now working on the same things has suddenly added this awesome layer of accountability just from 7 weeks ago, where someone else knows what I do every day. And I personally love that, and it makes a massive difference to how I can operate. And I don't think we can assume to be immune from kind of operating differently when no one knows what we're doing versus when people know what we're doing. So yeah, but if you're interested in figures, which you all should be, then just have a play on Figure.NZ. It's free for everyone to access, and if there's any data that you want that you can't find, just let us know. There's ways to contact us on the site. Thank you.